Communication so real, no cap. A different language for woman and man. Decode the language and you'll understand. Nah, it'll help you out. Rest assured, women have no doubt. Pillow talk.
Why did I gotta do that over. Hey y'all, what's going on? I don't know why it shut off so quick. But it did. So we are here. We are back, y'all. Time be moving so fast. Welcome back to the Man Translation Show, the cutting edge show. We bridge the gap of communication between men and women. We are the dynamic duo, mother and son, and we decode conversations because men and women do not think alike. Men got brain damage. No, men.
You feel the same way about some of y'all. Not all y'all.
No, what the book say? Women are from Mars and men are from Venus. So we just want to bridge the gap because it's really important that we come together, not men versus women. But I am Sky C. I am everything. I wear a lot of hats. I'm the entrepreneur, the producer, the coach, the trainer. This is my son Dante V. Dante, are you the real estate strategist? What we said you was?
I'm here figuring things out with everybody else. As I said before,
the relationship.
As I said before,
I ain't got all the answers. What's in there? What's in there? What that is? What that is right there? Cranberry juice. No, I'm not doing a commercial for Just Water. Do y'all like Just Water? I like Just Water. It tastes so yummy and cool. So today, Dante is going to be talking about attachment styles. Attachment styles unveiled. How your past influences your present.
Yes, your past upbringing not only affects your future, but also the types of partners that you choose and the type of person you are in different relationships.
Wow, your past upbringing.
Yes. Oh, yes. I mean, just do a recap. Now, granted, both my mother and father were both in my lives, but because we moved around a lot, I did not know I had an actual anxious attachment style until, of course, later on. It's like, why am I fighting so hard for someone to be here that essentially doesn't want to be here? Doing things out of the norm or doing things in excess and excessively to keep them around, to just have them near, or just make them, make me feel like, I'm wanted or needed or whatever the case may be. Whereas though, at the end of the day, I say this often, people are going to do whatever they want to do that makes them happy and what's also in their best interest. And a lot of times, sometimes it's not you, it's them. Being in that anxious attachment style is not, it's stressful as hell. Let's just call it what it is. It's stressful because you're doing things to keep somebody around. And it's you're constantly in your head about, different actions, things that you said. But all that comes from, again, nothing against my parents whatsoever. We sat back and I talked to both of them. And as we're growing, they're growing too. Parents are doing the best of what they have with what they were taught. And a lot of their parents, again, nothing against mine, they weren't taught. It's just figuring things out as they go along. This is what works right now. And there are going to be some bumps, some bruises, and things of that nature. As long as the parent is able to later on have a conversation and be able to address certain things, or, not even looking for the apology, but just addressing certain things and being able to listen. Because, again, I've talked to both my parents, and a lot of this stuff happened decades ago. But in order to heal, you have to release. And you have to be like, okay, well, this is what happened, this, and the third, and just go with it. Now, granted, not everybody has the same type of parents that I have that are actually willing to listen and give their perspective, their point of view, of whatever happened at that time. So some parents are just closed off. They want to hear what happened way back when. So a lot of stuff you might just have to Let it go. Write a letter, let it go. Define attachments, emotional bonds, connections that are formed between individuals. Yes, and this is a range from parents to children, different types of relationships that you have at work. It's a wide range because you do have those different attachments. But in these scenarios, we're talking about romantic because not everybody knows how to be single. It is very tough for people just to be like, hey, I'm alone, I'm single, and that's fine. I get that at time, like being going through the course of being celibate for 4 years. The first year, of course, is going to be the roughest because you are literally going through this withdrawal period of sex, and that can be rough. Going through your phone, just knowing that you can call somebody, and it's like, I can't do this anymore. Is rough. I mean, but it does get better, of course, with time. Rough, very rough. But again, if it's something that you're trying to do as far as healing yourself, I'm going to say this, and a lot of people are going to do it, but I do not care. The whole terminology of getting under someone to get over someone does not work. I don't care what no one says. And I'm willing to die. This is a hill that I am ready to fight for and die on at any given time. It does not work. So there's that. That is the recap on the anxious attachment style. I'm going to move over to, never mind. These bonds are shaped by various factors, experiences, interactions, and shared moments. Attachment influence how individuals approach intimacy, handle conflict, and seek support within relationships. Ain't that the truth? Listen, it all starts with upbringing. All of it. And I know this might be rough to hear, but if you were that child that was shut out during a relationship and you didn't get a chance to express yourself fully and so on and so forth, you could be an avoidant. Because avoidance, unfortunately, they weren't really allowed to express emotion. They weren't really allowed to talk about it, or if they did, it would get dismissed. So emotion to them is weird. It's a foreign concept. So something as simple as saying "I love you" or giving you some sort of compliment is a bit off-putting to someone who is not used to getting those certain types of things. When it comes to conflict with an avoidant, they tend not to do. It's just like, oh, okay, whatever, and it's kind of just gets dismissed. Whereas though the anxious attacher, when it comes to conflict, they're kind of like a yes man. I don't want to piss you off. I don't want to get you upset. So if this works for you, I'll compromise. I'm sorry, I won't compromise. I'll sacrifice, which is never good. Sacrificing in a relationship isn't good. Parent sacrifice, that's different because your child didn't choose to be here. But in a relationship, it's really all about compromise, not sacrifice. When it comes to the avoidant in intimacy, it's different because it is a different type of pressure for them. It's almost like they want it, but it's also a foreign concept. So it's like trying to marry the two. Like being in that avoidant style is very, very hot and cold. Of course, when it comes to the what is it? The anxious attachment, they're all for it. They want the intimacy. It almost comes off like they're very needy, very clingy. So the more intimacy, affection that you show them, of course, is going to be welcomed. When it comes to seeking support, the avoidant is independent because for the most part, they've been let down. Whether it be from somebody close, whether it be from a boyfriend, girlfriend, significant other, someone that's like they felt as though they couldn't call on certain people, or when they did, they were let down. So they basically became this self-contained unit. So I don't want to ask you because there's a possibility that you can let me down. So I'll do it myself. That is the motto for most avoidant attachments. I got it. Don't worry about it. Even if they don't have it, they'll find some way to figure it out eventually. But as far as calling somebody, yeah, no, they'll if their house fell down, they'll find a way to build it themselves. As far as anxious goes, they're just going to do everything to try to please you. So that's them seeking their support in a sense. But
Just listening, I'm just thinking about, when you are a parent and you are raising children, you are not taking any of this stuff into consideration.
no.
You have no idea that the way that you raise your child is going to determine what kind of attachment they're going to have once they become an adult. That's why these conversations are so important, because um, it's so many things that you just don't know. It's
Yeah,
so many things that you just don't know. So we're going to go down the line of the different attachments. I'm going to read it, and Dante is going to expound upon it. The next one is the secure attachment, comfortable with intimacy and autonomy, able to form healthy relationships.
that secure attachment is what all relationships, all marriages should be going for. It's a thing of even if you start out it being, you have an anxious and avoidant or dysfunctional, I forget what the fearful. It's really about, hey, here's some of the things that I need. Now, granted, we're not going to create any type of codependency, but it's also a thing where those reassurances are needed from time to time, and just knowing the person that you're with that, hey, I had a long day. I need a hug. Whereas you might not be a hugger. You might not want anybody in your space, but that secure attachment understands that, and it's like, okay, you just kind of just put certain things aside, let them have that moment, and then go on and do so. But it's also about asking certain questions. Are given certain certainties. Again, we're not talking about checking in every 5 minutes. We're not talking about that. But it's like, hey, if you're going to go out here, we just had a huge storm. So if you go out here, I just want to know that you're safe. I just want to know that you're okay. Let me know that you made it. Let me know that you're on your way back. Like, I'm not going to text you every 5 minutes. Hey, you okay? You're all right. You okay? You're all right? Because that's not secure whatsoever. It's just, hey, you're going out, which is also the autonomy thing. Because a lot of times with the anxious attacher, um, the anxious and avoidant, the avoidant wants the autonomy. They need that independence. They need to know that they're not being shackled down. Otherwise, they're going to run. Whereas the anxious, they put themselves in scenarios. It's like, well, how come they don't want to spend time with me, but they want to go out and with their friends? It's like having friends and going out with friends is needed. That is a must. And I understand that some people don't have those friends. That's fine. That's okay. If you are a loner, that's cool. But if you're with somebody who is that social bee, I'm not even sure if that's the term, but that person that they're just a social butterfly and they just go around and they just talk to everybody. Let them do them. Like, it's not a thing of them going out cheating. It's just, hey, they probably need a break from you. They had friends and routines before you got there. So that secure is not it's not accusatory. It doesn't hold you down, doesn't shackle you down. It allows you to actually be the individual you are, but give those reassurances when needed, not wanted, but when needed. And again, it's not every 5 minute thing, or anytime you go out. It's like, hey, I'm checking for safety. I'm checking for a sign of life. Other than that, babe, have fun. Do your thing. Let me know when you get back so I can have the food ready or whatever the case may be if you ain't eat. But
The thing that I find that is difficult, or not difficult, but missing in relationships, is how I came to my conclusions, is that you don't have autonomy. People don't know how to allow you to have your own individuality.
no,
I see people in relationships, they be dressed alike, they holding hands, and they like Siamese twins. They're like Siamese twins. And it's like, it's almost like a dog marking their territory. It's like, we dressed alike because I want you to know this is my man. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And it's
nah,
just like,
nah.
where's the individuality? I came in as a whole person. Single in my world, single means whole. It doesn't mean by yourself. It means that you're
Mhm.
whole. and it means that you have gone through the processes of heal to become whole and to a place of contentment. So you're very comfortable, with yourself, and you're very secure in the relationship, but people don't allow you to have autonomy. And that's the probably the biggest reason why. Where do you I still have to be free. I still have to be free. And
The
people
reason
don't seem to allow you to have that
be,
freedom.
because people are still hurt. You've been so. I had this conversation before, not with you, but it's like the boundaries that people set are for people who no longer exist anymore. Like you're not with that person, so they're literally moving off hurt. So it's like I'm setting this boundary because in my last relationship, this is what happened, and that doesn't even apply in some cases. What I'm saying is autonomy. Go out, have your fun. I don't need to investigate all your friends. They've been your friends for whatever. I mean, granted, given the the time frame, you're going to tell me about them. I'm going to tell you about mine. So it's nothing new. Nobody new pops up. But it's like, no, I want to meet them, and they want to see interactions, see all these things. Like the level of trust isn't there. Like it's not secure. You have somebody who is insecure, trying to place that on the person that they're with, and that essentially isn't fair.
Well, the thing is that there are different kinds of boundaries. There are different kind of boundaries. It's a difference between a boundary and a rule. Um,
Mhm.
you can have sexual boundaries. A sexual boundary could be, I don't have premarital sex. I don't have sex before, marriage. So the boundaries are not really based on what happened to you in a previous relationship. The boundary is based on maybe something you saw,
Mhm.
experience, maybe somebody been raped before, been molested before. It doesn't have to necessarily be your own experience. A lot of my boundaries came about because of the things that I saw, not necessarily my own experiences. Now, when I come up with a rule, that might be based on something that I experienced in a previous relationship. But there are different kinds of boundaries. You have, sexual boundaries, things that you won't do. Like I was watching a podcast, and the people in the podcast, they were saying that they supposed to be men of God. But then they asking all these sexual questions, and I'm just thinking to myself, y'all supposed to be men of God. Y'all not supposed to be having sex before marriage. There's no, you know what I'm saying? So I look at myself as a business. I look at myself as a country. I look at myself. The Word of God calls us a nation, a peculiar nation. And so when you're a nation has to have, um, you know, protocols and security and all of that. I have all of
Mhm.
that stuff set up. My boundaries are physical. Most of my boundaries are physical because I grew up in a very violent atmosphere. And it was just certain places you couldn't go, certain things you couldn't do, or it will cost you, your life. So I think boundaries are very necessary. To me, my boundaries make me feel secure. That's what make me feel secure in a relationship. And so it's certain things that you're not going to be able to do because they're put there for my protection.
Right. No, and again, I totally get that, totally understand it. But I'm talking about to what applies and what doesn't. Because how am I going to get to fully know you in some aspects where so I mean, granted, in time, given the vetting process, given trust and all those
Right.
things, and you actually showing your who you truly are, yeah, eventually I'll get let in. But some people just have a boundary of just cause.
Is that a wall? We talking about a wall?
No, because the wall is different. The wall is for the most part, you've been hurt continually. You've been
And
let
you ain't
down
letting nobody
continually.
in. That's how I see the wall. Like
Oh,
nobody's
yeah,
letting.
and it's like, I mean, eventually you'll get in, but it's a process, and we don't know what that process is at all. Anxious, preoccupied attachment, craving closeness, fears abandonment, and may become overly. dependent. Again, going through the situation I went through, I can relate to, well, not the overly dependent, but that you do crave that closeness. You do fear abandonment. Um, that's why I draw the line to my dependence. I'm not giving that to nobody. That's it. But you do want to be close because you don't want that person to go. That goes with the fear of abandonment. But this again, all these are things that you experienced growing up. You probably didn't have that closeness. So as you get older, it's like this is what I want, and just almost like a kid in the candy store. And once you get, it's like you go crazy. It's like okay, here we go. I got it. And then there is that fear. Well, what if I'm not good enough? What if I'm doing too much and this and that? Because a lot of times in these different relationships, nobody says anything till the end. Then you get angry, and then that's when the truth comes out. You need EMF, and you always around, and this, that, and the third. And it's like I thought it was okay. It's not. That fear of abandonment. That fear of abandonment is real. Especially when you just want somebody to be around. You do want, you don't have close friends. Having friends that you can hang with will help. Yes, genuine friends, not situationships or anything like that, but genuine people around you that actually care about you that aren't going to leave. If you had that friend that you grew up with in like the third grade, you don't fear abandonment because you have somebody who's there. Whereas though if you moved around a lot or went to different schools and things like that growing up, yeah, you do fear people leaving, especially as you get older because it's like you just want somebody to stay. But you combat that by learning you, and it could be rough because again, you might think you know the answers until someone else comes along and then presses that trigger, and then it awakens that.
Anxious, preoccupied attachment. So I know that having sons, I remember like when my sons turned like around like 9 and 10, they didn't really want me to give them hugs anymore. Like they didn't want hugs anymore. They didn't want to be hugged. Like you drop them off to school, you give them a hug, you give them a kiss. They didn't want hugs and kisses. So it's like, when do you, okay, so now they 9 and 10 and 11 and 12, they don't want hugs no more. So how do you as a parent, since you say this is about upbringing, so how do you as a parent, what is it that is left to do to show your child that
It's
affection besides going to work every day and provide material things?
it's not so when kids go through that, they go through a stage of nothingness. And what I mean by that is we don't like boys, we don't like girls, we don't like nobody. Everything is gross and ew. So, and I remember, yes, you would drop us off at school and you give us a kiss, and we'd have that lipstick mark somewhere. And it's like, not saying that we got fun of, but it's like, oh my gosh, you got lipstick on. It's like, oh no, no. But that's just the stage. Once we get a little older, it's like some certain things we just value, and those are the things that as we're young we kind of just take for granted. It's like here's the affection, here's this. Um, speaking personally, I wanted the forum to be heard as far as you guys being there and me being the middle child. Um, as far as craving closeness, I didn't feel as though I had that. I had that with a couple of friends, but all that left when moved.
But what is your definition of closeness though? Like everybody,
It's
what is closeness as far as like how, because we had family night. Family night was a time for everybody to express themselves. It was a time of prayer. We sat down at dinner. I don't know if you remember the dining room table.
Mhm.
Every place we lived, we had a dining room table. We sat down to dinner, we ate, and that was a time to share whatever was on your mind. Whether we've had this conversation before. I think that for me, the fact that you feel as though or you think somebody is not approachable to me is not really a reason not to share. share anyway. It's not a reason
Nah.
not to share.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
it's
not.
it's a
If I
huge
got
reason. I
something to
mean,
say, I'm saying it. I'm not gonna be like, well,
again,
you're not
I'm
approachable.
going to say
Hey,
what you always say. That's you. You had a
see,
different upbringing than we did.
I had a worse upbringing. I had a thousand times worse upbringing. We
And you
talking
all and
abandonment. We talking about abandonment, neglect, everything. Like all the negative to the 100th power. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So it's like my upbringing was way, way worse than anything that y'all, went through. My mom and dad went through well, people in my mom and dad in the 60s that got married, they never got divorced. They just went their separate ways.
yeah, it's a whole different. Yeah, I've heard a couple of people like that. It's like, we still married, but like you got a whole girlfriend over here that you done been with for like
Right.
5 years. What do you mean you
Life.
still?
No, they just went their separate ways and lived their life as single, but they were still married. They didn't get divorces. They didn't go through divorces. They just went their separate ways. My mom and dad was still married. When my mom died, she was still married. When my dad died, he was still married. They were still married. They never got divorced. I don't know what
That's
it is
wild.
about the people that got married in the 60s, but they don't get divorced. They don't.
Yeah.
So
No.
one of the reasons why I would always take y'all to work with me and let you see where I work with, because I didn't want you to feel abandoned. So every job that I ever work with, I would always take you to my job. Now I don't know if you remember when we lived in Maryland and I took you to when I
Mhm.
worked for Department of Veterans Affairs and I worked in the records department and I took you guys to work. And then when I went to Army Corps of Engineers, I took you guys there. You went to Housing Authority. Every job that I worked at, I took you guys so that you would not feel abandoned and you would know that when I leave, this is where I'm going and I'm
Mhm.
coming. So every job I worked at, they knew y'all. Everybody
It's
knew my
it's a,
story.
that's a it's a different perspective. It's a different
So what kind
interpretation.
of abandonment are you talking about?
I couldn't talk to you when it came down to certain things. I couldn't talk to Dad when it came down to certain things. Again, I'm talking coming from my personal. This isn't. I'm not speaking for the other three.
So because
Like,
you felt like you couldn't talk to someone that came across to you as abandonment?
yeah,
Wow. Oh, that's interesting.
yeah, because
Okay,
I
so
like.
yeah. No, I'm just saying that's interesting.
No, I mean, like, when it comes down to, again, I understand that as a parent myself, growing, like, as you're growing with your children, you're learning certain things. So again, your perspective is, you can come to me and talk to me about anything, but it's like, yeah,
Right.
when I tried, I'm not being hurt. I'm not being, whatever I'm saying is being minimized or practically dismissed because you don't feel a certain way or you see something that I may or may not see, whatever the case may be. So it's like I can't talk to you about said thing.
No, I think what the disconnect was, we've talked about this before. What the disconnect was, and it was definitely something that I had to go and pray about and like find out, okay, how do I fix this? What the disconnect was is that when you're an adult, when you're a parent and your child comes to you with an issue or they want to talk about something, parents have a tendency to not talk to the child at the age of the child.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to the child at the age of the child. So we have to um like if they 12 or 13 or however old they are and they come and they talk to us about something, we have to literally know how a 10-year-old or a 9-year-old, how they perceive things, how they understand things, and parents just don't do that.
No.
Parents don't do that. Parents do not do that. They talk to the child um really almost like the child is an adult when they're not.
It's a dictatorship. Here's what you gonna do. Here's what you ain't gonna do. And that is the end of discussion.
I wouldn't say I ran it like a dictatorship because what y'all felt and how y'all felt about things was important. And the reason it was important to me that you express yourself is because I was never allowed to express myself as a child. So it was important for me to allow you to express yourself. But at the same time, you're not understanding that you're coming across as this formidable force, to your child. And oftentimes people do tell me, even now, as an adult, they tell me that I'm not approachable. But as a nation, as a country, as a business, I'm not supposed to be approachable. But you're supposed to be approachable. So how do you make yourself approachable to your child when they see you as this formidable force that can put them on punishment and banish them to their room? So
You
this is a
you
good
literally
conversation for parents,
you,
you know.
you literally have to shut up and listen. That's really what it comes down to. And it's not a thing of you one by you being quiet and listening. It shows that okay, I care about what you're talking about. And when it comes to whatever situation, express it. Like I don't really want you doing A, B, C, D, and then give me the information that I need to make my own decision. Because essentially, you're raising a child to be that adult, to go out in the world and be successful, be functional, be manageable.
I think that parents, I think that parents don't see. I think the reason it comes across as a dictatorship is because parents do not see that their child is to that level that they can basically they're giving you the information that you need. They're not having really like a two-way conversation because they don't see you as their equal.
No. Mm. And this and essentially it comes down to that. Okay, I came to you with said thing. You didn't listen, so now it's just trial and error. Even if you don't get the chance to, have another conversation about said thing again, it does come. Well, I can't talk to this person, can't talk to them, so I'll figure it out. I'll go through the
Yeah, I
process and
didn't.
just do whatever.
I didn't really in my memory I didn't really look at it that way. It's like, okay, this is the time to set aside to talk about this thing. It don't matter. But I think that for me, I never was able to have a conversation with my mom, period, about nothing at all. Now that was a dictatorship. So it's
Hmm.
like, we have to, as parents, really, we have to be mindful of a lot of things that we just don't take into consideration where our children are concerned. We just don't. We just don't take those things into consideration.
No.
We
Mm.
just don't. Mm-mm.
There are people with feelings and thoughts and stuff like that, and with every, I don't want to say failed, but in their mind, a conversation that doesn't go awry, and they leave that conversation with nothing. Unfortunately, it may be a strike against you as far as that talking about certain. I'm not just saying you. I'm just speaking in general. It might be one of those things where it's like I can't talk to this person. I can't talk to my mom. I can't talk to my dad, and that can be rough. And I mean,
But
eventually they'll get
I
older and
don't
be able
really,
to
I
express that.
don't, and it's like, and I understand that that's your perception, and I understand that your perception is your truth. I understand that, but I just cannot, as a mother who loves her children, and I know I can't speak for all mothers, but I know that when you're a parent and you love your child, you want to, you don't want your child to feel like they can't come and talk to you. So I don't, from a parent point of view, um that's not, yeah, that's not something that we would like want, you
That's
know.
not that's not your intention, but
Right.
that's what happens. That's unfortunate.
So
That's what it is.
how do we bridge the gap on that?
You
What
got
do
you
you think?
gotta let them talk. You have to let them talk. You do not tear them down. And I think the number one thing I absolutely positively hate it is being compared. Um, don't compare me to nobody else. I don't give a damn about them people. I don't know them people. I don't know what they've been through. I don't care. They ain't me. Like Your child comes to you to talk about whatever, let them talk. Even if you 100% do not like it, you don't have to like it, you don't have to agree. But this is them coming to you and literally giving you the opportunity to have a conversation about whatever the case may be. Yes, it could be upsetting. Yes, it could be one of those things where yeah, you're about to ruin your life. Talk to them, give them that information, whatever it is. But the moment you start to tear down, compare, or anything negative, your chances of them coming back to you about the certain thing gets diminished.
Mm. I'm going back in my memory to my own relationship with my grandmother, my aunt, and my uncle, the people that I talked to in my life. I think for me, I went to them for information. So I would go talk to my grandmother about something that I was dealing with her daughter, and I went to them for information. And whatever it is that they said, I didn't really have, and I questioned people. But when it came to like the people um that I felt like knew more than me, I
Uh-huh.
went and said, grandma, this is happening, or auntie, this is happening, or uncle, that's happening. And whatever they said, that was good enough for me. I didn't take into consideration tone. I didn't take into consideration delivery. I didn't take into consideration any of that because I felt like these people are smarter than me. They've been here longer than me. They know more than me. I'm bringing them a problem. Whatever they say, do. And my cousin will attest to this because she tells me this all the time. Whatever grandma told you to do, that's what you did. And that's just like, that's just like how I was with the adults in my life. I didn't, now the teachers, doctors, anybody outside my family, oh, they got questioned. But the
Right.
people in my family, no. Whatever my grandmother said, that's what it was. Whatever my aunt said or my uncle said, if I took a problem to them, I didn't challenge what they said. I just listened to what they said. And I mean, I'm not talking about you. I'm just trying to like get
Mhm.
understand the situation and try to put myself in how when I was growing up, how when I went to adults and stuff. And sometimes you got hollered at. Sometimes, certain things you got like when I threw the hot water on my mom's boyfriend, my grandmother was very upset. She did, because I knew I was gonna have to go talk to her. She was
Mhm.
very upset. So sometimes you do get hollered at. Sometimes you get in trouble. Sometimes, she was like, "That's not what I told you to do." She said, "I told you that if he messed with you, I ain't say nothing about if he was messing with your mama." She was very
Right.
so I didn't consider like whether I was going to get hollered at or get in trouble or the tone that they was talking to me in or or they said it in a way that, oh, I didn't like that, so I'm not going to go talk to them anymore. No, these people are smarter than me. They know, God had a reason for assigning them over me. So I didn't really challenge anything that they said. I did whatever they said. Whatever they
And
said
we
do.
don't. And I understand where you're coming from with that,
Yeah.
but unfortunately, the wisdom that you had, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. The wisdom that your generation had was not passed down how it should have been. Again, I'm not talking about you personally, I'm just speaking in general.
Right,
Like
right,
that wisdom isn't there. The trust that you had in, like, you had enough
right.
wisdom to go to your grandmother about your mama. And
Yeah,
who else better to talk to than this your child?
right. Your
What's
child.
wrong with her?
What's
How can
wrong
I
with
how
them?
can I do right? How can I do whatever? And it's like you gotta worry about yourself. Do A, B, C, D. Like the trust and the wisdom was there.
Right. It was.
Unfortunately, with for my generation, it's spotty. The generation under me, they go into their friends who are even more misguided, who are even more misled because mama's still trying to go to the club, mama's still trying to do all these different things. So it's like that wisdom isn't being passed down, and that's the part. Unfortunately, it's like That's the scarcity. That's the rarity, the
But the thing
wisdom, the
is
trust.
that when you try to share with them, when you do listen to them, because I talk to young people, I talk to all kind of people, really. I talk to older people, younger people, but when you do try to share with them, they get offended. They get offended. They get on the defense. Well, that's you. That ain't me. That's you. But I'm trying to share with you the okay, because I'm sharing with you my experience. I'm telling you that the way that you're handling this situation, you don't have to handle it that way. This is what I'm saying to you, that you don't
Mhm.
have to, and I'm going to use the person we talked about earlier. You don't have to allow the fact that you were in a relationship and somebody was, wanted to decide they wanted to be with somebody else. You don't have to allow that to dismantle your mind. I'm here as a living example.
Mhm.
I'm a living example that you don't have to handle it that way. Well, that's you. That ain't got nothing to do with me. That's you. So, so what you?
No, no, two things. Two things. Because what I'm understanding is, and this is going to answer a question that you asked me, um, maybe sometime last week. One, how do you read somebody? If they ask, they're ready to listen. But a lot of times when we volunteer our information or whatever that goes against what they're doing, that's when they become offended. Because it really does become a thing where, unfortunately, not to sound disrespectful, but nobody asks you. Now, here you are giving, yes, valuable information, valuable insight, valuable feedback. But because I'm not mature enough to handle, listen,
Ding
and
ding
or
ding ding
apply,
ding 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 ding.
it doesn't get it's not received. So you get deflected by saying that's you, that's not me, I'm that's not my situation. That like all other randomness. Like when they ask, asking is a part of wisdom. Asking is also a part of maturity. Well, what would you do in this situation? How would you handle this? Like that, those are questions of someone who's ready and willing to listen, whereas though deflecting isn't. You don't want to be bothered because now you have to self-check yourself and realize, hey, I did something wrong, and go back and correct it.
I always come from the perspective of healing. I always want to share, what kick-started my healing process. How did I get through the process? And all of that. And so if you're on social media and you're responding, everybody is responding to a question.
Uh-huh.
Everybody is responding to a question. The question was, how do you deal with, the infidelity and then all the questions that you have about the infidelity?
Uh-huh.
And my response was, people can decide to be with who they want to be with. People are grown. Yes, it is unfortunate that you are in a relationship, whether you're married, you're engaged, or whatever, and this person decides to go and be with somebody else without telling you. It's their choice. No matter how messed up it is, no matter how hurtful it is, no matter how whatever you say about it is their choice. It's their choice to do it. And so I'm trying to get them into a mindset that, again, you're an individual, and it is, Bobby Brown said, it is your prerogative, it is your choice. He said, I could do what I want to do. Each person can do what they want to do, no matter how messed up it is. Your posture.
Yes. No, 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 no. Yes, totally and wholeheartedly agree with you. But giving, since we're talking about attachment styles, you have someone who's again they're emotionally invested, and it's like, how could you choose someone else over me? And I'm like speaking from the anxious attacher who wants to give you everything. How are you going to choose somebody else? And I'm doing, A, B, C, D, whatever the case may be. Like,
Because you have to realize that, first of all, the person got issues. Cheating is a character flaw. That don't have nothing to do with you. They didn't choose anybody over you. They choose to be with somebody and you. They didn't choose
yeah,
nobody over you. They didn't. Because if they chose somebody over you, then they would have left you and then went to go be with that person. No,
yeah,
they
no.
want to be with you and they want to be with that person. They didn't choose anybody over you. They want both of y'all, or
Oh
all
no.
three of y'all, or all four of y'all, however many they have in their little harem. So, dismissive, avoiding attachment. They value independence, tend to avoid emotional intimacy, and may appear emotionally distant. So,
So
I value independence. I know how to be emotionally intimate, but I also come across emotionally distant sometimes. So I don't know which one I am. I don't think they got to mine yet, but go ahead. I tell you,
not so one, you got to be in a romantic relationship first.
I have been
Um,
in romantic relationships before, Dante.
no, okay. So I'm not saying that you have, but what I'm saying is they're fluid. They're all fluid. Like how you are with one, you can be different with somebody else. Like they all bring out different things. Yes, you definitely value your independence. As far as avoiding emotional intimacy, I don't know nothing about that. As far as you being emotional distant, I don't know nothing about that either. When it comes to you, um, but they do value their independence because again, like to be around people to an extent, you giving them your time. And of course, if you're trying to build that romantic relationship, emotions are going to get involved. And that's a foreign concept only because they have not really been able to address that coming up. Maybe they were an older child, or maybe they were a only child. And it's just like, all right, we'll do this, and whatever the case may be. And they'll come and, well, I feel this type of way about this, and it's like everything just gets dismissed. So it's like growing up, not speaking for me, but growing up for them, when they express themselves, it gets dismissed. So it's like, what is the purpose of me ever expressing myself if it's never going to get acknowledged? So
Yes, it's like dismissive. It's subjective because I'm telling you, I get this. I get this. It's like, you're dismissive because you don't react the way a person thinks
that's
that you
different.
should react. That's
That's
not
different.
being
That's not.
dismissive.
That's no. Well, I'm gonna say this because I've dealt with a few people like that. You have, not saying you, but they have an expectation. So when they bring to you certain things or certain excitements, and you're just like, "Well, congratulations, I'm happy for you." When that's not the response they're looking for, yeah,
Right.
it throws them off. That's not emotionally distant. I don't feel what you feel.
Well, what is it?
Again, they have an expectation. You one, if you have an expectation on anybody other than yourself, you shouldn't. Um, I've said this: expectations definitely lead to disappointment. Like, allow people to be who they are. If you understand, like, and I'm gonna say this: if your child is a C student and you expect them to bring home A's, you're only hurting yourself. Especially if they're going out and they're
You know
giving
your
their
child
all.
capable of bringing home A's. You can't let them bring home no C's, Dante.
No, 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 no. But if they're capable, but are they actually doing it? Are they actually giving the best that they got? Like when you put expectations in people and they don't, now you're upset at me because I didn't live up to the bar that you set for me in your head. How does that sound? No.
I think that parents should have expectations. The expectation ends once they become adults, but once they're children and you know what they're capable of, you know what their potential is, you can't let them just bring home C's.
No,
Fearful,
that,
avoidant attachment experiences conflicting desires for both closeness and independence, often resulting in emotional struggle.
that is the classic hot and cold. This is where the wall comes in at. Because there's a wall that's up and I want to let you in, but because something happened to me in the past, and you're exhibiting certain patterns that may or may not exist, I got to protect myself. So I want you here, but I also want you to take your ass home. Like I want you around. I got the independence part. I'm cool, but I do need you to hang this picture because I really don't know how. But I really don't want to call you because that means I need you, and I don't really need nobody. I'm gonna figure it out, and then you go and tear up your damn wall trying to figure out. And then eventually you might call somebody. A lot of times because unfortunately people aren't genuine. And when it comes to some men, it's like I want to do something for you, but it's like in the back of some women's minds, what you want? You want something. You don't want to just come over here and just hang a wall. You trying to put me on that wall. Like that's the thing. So it's like they just rather not and just deal with that. Dealing with different emotions when it comes to certain things. Again, they rather not because it is that struggle, and they do give off that hot and cold because I I want you here, but I also don't. I don't want to create that dependency
Sound
because
like bipolarism.
I mean it is an internal struggle within self
It is.
because I want you, but then again, ugh, I don't know.
Ambivalent attachment displays uncertainty about the availability of others, leading to a mix of clinginess and a fear of rejection. We're definitely going to go over because we have one, two, three. We have four more, so we got to go. We still have four more to go through. We're going
We
to
can
get through all of these.
we can continue. We can do a part three
No,
and close it up.
we can finish it. Go ahead. We still. It's not even an hour yet. We still got like 10 minutes.
Ambivalent attachment uncertainty. This one I do not know about, but displays uncertainty about the availability of others, leading to a mixed clinginess and fear of rejection. I think that would be. I think that would be fearful. Honestly, that's what that sounds like. It sounds like it's the hot and cold. It's like you want it, but then you don't want it at the same time. Like you
Well, you
literally have
want
to.
it, but then you fear that you're gonna be rejected. If you ask for it, because people know. I don't think anybody really like clingy people. I really don't too much care for cling. But most people that have a fear of rejection they're very clingy. And people that have abandonment issues, they're very clingy. They have codependency issues. So ambivalent
Uh,
means they're just not sure. They're not sure. That's why all it's so many pieces to relationship and communication. That's why we do this show, because communication is really complex. We really make it seem like it's really simple, but it's not. It's a lot of layers um, to communication, because we
you know,
do bring our own experiences and our own perceptions. And what I found is that your perception is your truth, but it's not the truth. So there are other pieces and parts that you have to put to it in order to get the whole picture. And so the truth should be the goal. It should always be the goal, because it's not about dismissing what your experiences were, but it's about learning from your perceptions and the things that you experienced. That's what it's about. But people don't have a tendency to really do that. They fight over it. Oh no, that didn't happen. Well, you can't tell people that things didn't feel how they felt. It might not have been your intention, but
uh,
it's not how they took it. You know.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think truth is the goal because again, some people don't get to the truth. It's just theirs
They
and this, and
don't get to the truth. They
I
don't.
think that I
They
think the
don't.
goal should be. I think the goal should be understanding and comprehension.
Well, understanding and comprehension comes from we were just I was sharing with you how we was reading on Bible study Proverbs 4 wisdom, and then all I get and get understanding. So you can't get understanding unless you have wisdom. And wisdom comes from people that's been through it before you, figured it out already. They've already figured it out. And so that's why I think that when you go to people, they kind of fast forward you through their process because they've already figured it out.
Right.
I've already been through it. I've already figured it out. I've come through on the other end. I've conquered it, and this is how I did it. And that's pretty much how I share my story. I've already been through that, and this is how I've been through that. See, I didn't allow myself, when I go through things, I don't allow my mind to just keep throwing me all these random questions and I need closure and why did you do this and why did you do that? They did it because they wanted to do it. That's why
Well,
they did it. And sometimes people do things and they're not even aware that they did it. Okay? They're not even aware. When you bring a conversation to someone, what you're bringing to them is awareness because they're not even aware. They don't know that they hurt your feelings. They don't know that they stepped on your foot and you still been mad about it for 20 years. They stepped on your foot. Your toe ain't been right since. They don't know. You're bringing awareness to them. A lot of times people don't know. People be so wrapped up in what they doing in their own life. They not. You should have said I stepped on your foot. Then we could have dealt with it back then. So you're bringing awareness when you have communication. You're saying, this is what I like, this is what I don't like. I don't like when we went to the party and you just left me over in the corner by myself and you was over there lollygagging with your friends. That's what communication is. So it has a lot of layers to it. It's
yeah,
complex.
it does. Yeah.
It is disorganized attachment.
Ooh.
Characterized by erratic behavior, difficulty forming consistent attachment patterns, often linked to trauma. And I think a lot of these are probably linked to some type of.
Every last one of them is. Every last one of them. That's a given. All of them are linked to some sort of trauma, something that happened in their upbringing early on that literally affects how they make decisions when it comes down to relationships. That is it. Yes, erratic behavior, difficult form of consistent attachment, often linked to drama. I mean, that one, that one I'm still studying because that one is very, very complex. It's it's kind of hard to pinpoint because that trauma that they experienced and them trying to form some sort of relationship, like especially if you had someone in your life that had multiple partners that you've seen, like psychologically you think that that's okay. Well, if my dad did it, my mom did it, I can do it. Seeing one of your parents or something like that get beat consistently, like that's linked to trauma. And then you often stay in these relationships and you attract these people because this is what you saw growing up. Not saying that that's all disorganized attachment, but from what I've been reading,
I wish somebody would hit me. I will be in jail. No, I watched my mom get beat to a bloody pulp. I wish somebody would try to hit me. No way. I have no tolerance. None. You will be stabbed in the neck. Sorry.
hmm, we don't condone violence of any sort on the man
The
translation.
secure secure pre. I told you my therapist asked me did I have suicidal thoughts. I said no. Homicide. Homicidal thoughts, not suicide. I ain't killing me. Homicide. She just wrote it down. No. So I think that those experiences they just I think that, my grandmother, she used to always say, you don't have to make your own mistakes. You can learn from the mistakes of other people. So I think for me, growing up was just like a big old observation of things to do and things not to do and ways to be and ways not to be. For me, it was just a big lesson. Okay, I don't want to do that when I grow up. Okay, I don't want to be like that. Okay, I don't want to have a revolving door of boyfriends. Okay, no, I ain't letting nobody beat me up. So for me, it wasn't, I didn't like, my cousin always said, write a book and share. How did you come through all of that? And I think the reason how I came through it, it was that I kind of maintained my objectivity and didn't take a lot of it personally because these people are living their lives and I'm watching them. Children watch. I'm watching them live their lives, and I'm watching how certain things are affecting them. I'm watching how things are, how they handling things or not handling things. So to me, it was just a big observation, learning situation, for me. And then whatever I didn't understand, I went to to other people in my family, to give me understanding. Because a lot of things I didn't understand. I didn't understand. This man over here with your friend, and he over there, and he coming back over here, and why you letting him come over here, and why you not doing that, and why y'all ain't got no jobs? Like, why ain't nobody working? You know what I mean? Why don't nobody have no goals? I don't never hear nobody talk about their dreams. So for me, it was just a big observation, and it was like all this drama, and everybody was walking around on eggshells, and everybody was just like triggered about something, and everything was to the extreme. If you didn't wash a dish, oh my god, you just lost your whole entire mind and start cussing, and you just, wow. You know what I'm saying? And it's like you didn't do a certain thing, and your clothes got threw out the window all in front of everybody. And it's like everything was so just dramatic to the 10th power, and people fighting. And I remember one summer sitting outside, the guy, he thought his girlfriend was cheating, and he couldn't get in the house. Now this is the 11th floor. He gonna go to his neighbor's house and think he gonna climb from his neighbor's window into his apartment. And guess what happened? He fell. And we're looking at him, and all you hear is bones cracking. It's all you hear is his bones cracking. It's like the human condition at its worst, at its absolute worst. And so you just looking like a movie. Like, let me get a pad and a paper. Let me write this stuff down. And that's what I was constantly doing in my window, in my journal. Oh, today the man tried to get in it and fell. You know what I mean? So it was like, I don't know. I think we just living in just a different time where everybody is so sensitive. Talk about them sensitivities. Woo, my God.
Sensitive people only focus on the thing that benefits them rather than the thing that should be benefiting them. If we're having a conversation, again, you're worried about what I'm saying, how I'm saying it, how it's being delivered, all those other things, but you're not necessarily hearing what I'm saying. Like, I think I told you this earlier, like, you can't spell truth without hurt. Like, the truth hurts. And I'm only telling you the truth because I love you, because I care about you. Or you're going in directions where it's like, hey, you shouldn't do this. But because you're so focused on the wrong thing, you miss it. I can't give you any sort of correction because you feel as though, oh, I'm a hater, or, you don't know me and stuff like that. Only because you don't want to take that look or that self-reflection that I'm giving you. I mean, I get it. No one likes to be wrong. Nobody wants to be wrong. But as a mature adult, you're going to be wrong. Whether or not you loud and wrong is a different story. But it does come a point in time where I said earlier, just shut up and listen. If it applies, apply it. If it don't apply.
But to my thing is, what I'm noticing with people is like they going through something. They want an answer. You have an answer, but they don't like the answer that you're giving, or they don't like the way you're giving the answer.
Because a lot of people, when they ask questions, they're looking for a specific answer in hopes that you give it to them.
Right.
And when you don't give it to them, now they're disappointed. This goes back to the expectation that I told you about earlier. I'll ask you a question. Hey, do you like my shirt? And you like, nah, that's an Ashley Black. I don't like that. Because I asked you a question, I should be prepared for whatever answer that comes out your mouth.
Exactly.
But we live in a time frame where as though, oh, this person gonna gas me up. They gonna hype me up. Oh, yes, I love that shirt. That shirt looks good on you. Meanwhile, you look like you in a damn black trash bag. But if I said that, you'll be offended. But you asked me a question. Like, we all of us know this older, I'm gonna say an older lady because that's who I've always experienced in my life, who had no cut cards about her. You ask her a question, she gonna give you the answer, whether you like it or not. She ain't gonna volunteer no information. She not gonna look at you. Ask her a question, that's what she gonna get. You gonna get that
Well,
answer.
you're gonna get that from most older people.
I want like most older men, they teeter totter, but that older woman, she probably like in her 80s, no cut cards, none. You ask her a question, she gonna give you like she don't give a damn much your feelings. You shouldn't ask me that.
Because you can't, because that's what the problem is. To me, that's what I found out what the problem is, and I think that that's why I come across dismissive and unsympathetic and everything else, because I'm not really concerned about the emotional part of it. It's like my men friends tell me that I'm more logical like a man than more like a woman. I don't really reside in my emotion. I don't really live over on the emotional side of myself. I never did. And I think that it was a probably a defense mechanism as a result of being growing up in a violent atmosphere. When you grow up in a
Mhm.
violent atmosphere, you cannot afford to be emotional. You cannot really show emotion, because emotion comes across in the hood as weakness. And so when you show any type of weakness or any type of vulnerability, that's when you get raped, you get snatched, you
And
get
that's
robbed, you
so
get all of that. So I live more so on my logical side than I do on my emotional side, and that's not something that you really see a lot of women do. And
no.
so yeah,
To answer your question based off of what you said, it would be dismissive avoidant.
yeah,
Like you said earlier, because it's like you can't live in that place of emotion. Not saying that you can't tap into it, but when it comes down to certain things, that's not your first thought.
it's not.
But also with that being said, the flip side is you know how to tap into it when need be, but it's like tapping I don't think tapping into your emotions is a weird feeling for you, but also it's not a forethought either.
No, it's just to me, to live, to live in my emotion is from what I observed growing up is to always be hurt, is to be hurt all the time. Like people that to me that's emotional about everything, that like we said, they're sensitive, they're easy, their feelings are easily, to be hurt, and they just stay hurt all the time. Everything is taken personally. Why did they do this to me? And it's like they didn't really do anything to you. They did what they wanted to do. That's what they wanted to do. They didn't do anything to you. The only way they could do something to you is if you take personally what they did and you internalize it and carry it. They didn't do anything to you. They
I
did what
get
they wanted to do.
I get both sides,
That
and
was
that's
that was it. If I stay emotional about it, you're gonna be crying and stuff. That's not gonna serve you.
no, but it's also one of those things where again, feel what you need to feel and get out of it.
That's
Like
it.
these are your emotions. Yes,
But
your
people
emotions
stay
are
in the
valid,
feelings too long. They stay there.
right?
They stay there. People stay in the feeling. Yeah, you're gonna feel it. Yeah, when
Yeah.
somebody betray you, your trust and all that. Yeah, that hurts. Nobody said it didn't hurt, but I'm not
Right.
gonna stay in the hurt.
Nah, you can't feel what needs to be felt, understand it, don't live in it because life still goes on. I think that's always been my thing. Stay for as long as you can. I'm sorry, stay for as long as you need to, not want to, need to, and then get out of it.
But it's like the Fresh Prince of Bel Air, when Will's father kept leaving him, he kept feeling abandoned, and it's like, why don't you want me? Well, it's not that he doesn't want you. It's just this is how he is. This is how he is. He, for whatever reason, cannot, everybody can't deal with the responsibility of raising children. Raising children is very challenging. It is not an easy thing to do. And it is almost impossible to do by yourself. That's why you need two people, because with one person, they're going to always miss something. It's going to always be something that your parents didn't do or your mom did. Because, I don't really use the term single mother. I use the term absent father, because no woman wants to raise children by herself. Nobody asked to be a single mother. To me, to say single mother is to blame and to say, oh, she's a single mother because the man didn't want her. No, he didn't want the responsibility of raising his child. So it's an absent father. It's not a single mother. It is an absent father, because we know that, once you smite the head, you scatter the family.
Mhm.
But the head is no longer there. The family now becomes a vulnerable to attack. And that mother she's not going to catch everything. She's not. She's not going to be able to be there for the kids emotionally. She got to go to work every day. She got bills to pay. She got to do this. This child need this thing. That child need that. This child need that. That's why you need two parents, so y'all can cover each other's back as far as the children are concerned. The marriage is a protection for the children. When the head is smited, or the head is gone, then the onslaught comes. The children become collateral damage.
Mhm.
Mom is not going to catch everything, because she's vulnerable too. And what happens is that everybody becomes displaced because the head is not in place. The head is not there. The head is gone now. So we're not talking about single mothers. We're talking about absent fathers. We're talking about fathers that, even if you don't live in the house, you still need to co-parent to raise those children. And women get blamed. Oh, she crazy. She be drawn. She this, she that. Oh, I'm not here. She just get blamed for the whole. No, you went out and did what you wanted to do because that's what you wanted to do. Okay, cool. But they ain't got nothing to do with we got to raise these children.
I mean, that stuff is allowed. That's. I mean, I know that there's exceptions to every rule, but we're talking about the ones who are allowed to actually do so and choose not to do so. Not.
And you can't make them. You cannot make them, because they're blaming you for not being there to raise their child. They're blaming you. Women get blamed for that. So I'm so tired of this single mother. Don't nobody bring no kids into the world to be a single mother. No, we have absent fathers. Fathers need to step up to the plate and co-parent their children. It's not about whether we get along. We don't have to get along. We have to raise these children, because all of these problems, it's like, oh, statistically, single mothers are the worst people to raise children, because they were never meant to. It was never supposed to be that way.
But,
So of course the kid gonna grow up with all these problems. Ain't nobody thinking about that stuff. You're trying to keep a roof over their head and feed them and all that stuff, and make sure that they okay. You can't be there for them emotionally and all this other stuff. You don't even know, man. It's so much. It's so many things that you miss. It's so many things that you miss. So many things. Children are the collateral damage, and it's like we have to come up with the solutions as to how to really cover our children, because women cannot do it by themselves. They can't. They can't do it. Secure preoccupied attachment exhibits both secure and anxious traits, seeking closeness while also fearing potential um,
that
rejection.
is that is where you that's when you're coming out of the actual anxious attachment and exhibiting the behaviors of, okay, let me put these different things in place, but you're not fully healed yet. You're coming out of it. So those behaviors are still there. You still feel that rejection. You still want to be close to this person, but you also understand this person, this individual, they have their autonomy. I'll get my time. It's really you're gaining the confidence of a person that's actually secure, rather than being full on anxious and not having that confidence.
Okay, the next one is secure avoidant attachment. Balances independence with comfort and intimacy forming secure connections without excessive reliance.
That sounds like a situationship. I'm not gonna comment on that one. It just seems real yin yangish. Like, how can you be secure and avoidant at the same time? I mean, again, it's probably one of those things, like I said earlier, whereas though you are that avoidant that's coming out of, of your healing, and you have those secure things, but you still have the, that avoidance side to you. Like, you're not full on there yet, but you're on your way.
Okay. Balancing independence with comfort and intimacy, forming secure connections without excessive reliance. I think I can understand that. I'm trying to find which one of these apply to me. That's what I'm trying to figure out. I think this one is kind of close. I think this one is kind of close because it's like I could be intimate, I could have intimacy and have a connection with you without becoming dependent on you. That's what it seemed like to me.
No, this
Because
is not
I don't
really a
really
thing of
want
being dependent on
I
anybody.
don't want to
Yeah.
be dependent on another human being. See, I don't want to be dependent. I don't want to be dependent on someone else. I don't want to I don't want to I don't want to rely on other people. So I don't know if with that is a result of maybe like being disappointed or something. But I don't really want to rely. Like in a relationship, I really want to. It's like I want to be able to rely on myself, but at the same time, I could be there for you. But I
Hmm.
don't want my whole existence to rely on another human being. Because some people like they just fall completely apart because they want that person to be everything to them. Nobody is going to be everything to you.
They shouldn't. They really shouldn't. I
I don't
mean,
think it's possible.
I mean, we all have our checklist, yes, but some things you got to do yourself,
Yeah. Because I think that when you're too dependent on a person, you become a burden.
and you lose your identity because the moment they try to go, now you crazy. Now it is that thin line between love and hate.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Unresolved attachment style, typically associated with unresolved trauma. This is the one I talk about all the time, leading to difficulties in forming stable and secure relationships. I talk about the unresolved trauma all the time because I've seen that do the most damage.
Well, yeah, um, and because they don't know how to deal, so they just keep moving forward. It's like it has a bit or a hint of the um the dysfunction slash avoidant slash dismissive, but they don't know how to deal, so they just don't. They don't know how to address, so they just don't. So it's like they're moving. It's like you have an open wound and you're just moving forward and you slap a band-aid on it, but the band-aid don't stick. It's just flapping in the wind. I'm like, oh, it'll be fine. It's not fine. It's not okay. Like, this is something you actually need to sit down, get some sort of therapy, counseling, or whatever, so just so it can be drawn out. I mean, granted, going through the therapy counseling, it's going to bring some stuff out of you that you didn't know existed. Some questions are going to get asked. You're going to get some homework, but you have to be willing to listen. You have to be willing to actually do the work and not try to bypass that with being with somebody as a cover up so you don't have to deal with you.
I think that's one of the things that I really want to stress. I know black people don't go to therapy, but I think that therapy is great. I really do. I think that coupled with um spirituality gets to the root of situations. But when you go to therapy, it gives a label or name to things. And for a lot of times, we can't get those questions answered because we haven't identified, like all of these different attachment styles, we haven't identified the things that we operating in, and if we can't identify it, we can't get to the root of it. So you need both. You need the root, you need the spiritual side, and you also need the clinical side as well. Because for years I was dealing with a situation, and I knew that something was wrong. I didn't know what the name of it was. I couldn't
Mhm.
identify what the behaviors were. I saw the dysfunctional behaviors. Growing up, I saw the dysfunctional behaviors in my parents, but I didn't know what the name of them, what they were called. So when you go to therapy, therapy has a way of putting a name, to
Mhm.
something. And that's important. It's really important for you to be able to effectively deal with and get through the process of what it is that you're going through, because the goal is to become whole. That's the goal, to become whole, go through the healing process, to become whole. And after wholeness come contentment. And a lot of those questions that you have, they get answered. That to me, that's what contentment means. Contentment means that you're in a place of peace. You're in a peaceful place. You've made it through the healing process, which is tough. You've come to a place of wholeness, and you are now in a place of peace. You're now in a peaceful place. See, when you have all them questions and you ain't got them all those answers, that's not peaceful. That's trouble. You're troubled. When you have
Mhm.
a lot of answers and you ain't got no, I mean, when you have a lot of questions and you don't have no answers, you're troubled, because that keeps you up at night. That keeps you flipping and flopping. Well, why did they do this? And then you start going back. Oh, I remember on this day, and he didn't come home. I wonder if he was with her on that day. And well, now you don't have no peace. You don't have no peace now, because a lot of those answers you have not identified, and you're focusing so much on what the other person is doing, that you're not asking yourself the hard questions. And I say that all the time. You have to look at yourself. See, people can't hold you accountable. You have to hold yourself accountable.
Mhm.
Accountability means ownership. It is really like it is a financial term. It is when you're able to reconcile. You have to first reconcile with yourself. When you reconcile your checkbook, and you waiting for them checks to come in to clear. You waiting for them
Mhm.
checks to clear so that you can balance out your checkbook. Well, it's like that. It's a financial term. You have to answer those questions so that you can reconcile. The reconciliation with yourself brings about a peace, and it brings about a commitment. I have great respect for marriage because I know why God created marriage. I have great respect for relationships because I went through the experience of being married, then going through a divorce, then being single, and the damage that it does to a family. So I'm all for marriage, but there are stages that people find themselves in that they need help through. So you need to know which one of these attachment styles fits you. Which
Mhm.
one of these can you identify with so that you can get the answers that you need so that
To
you can get,
become
yeah.
to be in a secure relationship, because that, if you want to be in one, that's what you want to do. You want to be in a secure one. Relationship should be about freedom, being able to have your individuality, they have their individuality, and ain't no issues. It is not about locking somebody down and texting them every 30 minutes, 30 seconds to see what they're doing, see where they at, asking them all these different types of questions. Like, that's not secure.
Nope.
That's insecure than a mother.
That's insecure. And that's like, and see, this is how I come to the conclusion that, you know, I don't want to be married because where do you find this person at?
They exist. Again, it is a rarity, but it exists. And a lot of times it does take the right person to come along to teach them, hey, listen, all that texting every 5 minutes, that's dead. Either you gonna trust me or you can leave. One of
Yeah.
the two. Like, ain't nobody out here trying to hurt you. Ain't nobody trying to do all this stuff. But if I'm out trying to enjoy myself, and every time I look at my phone or my watch go off, yeah, no, I'm not. I'm no longer enjoying myself because now you're consuming my time, and I just want to have fun, not with you. you have a life. You should still be able to live your life and not have to. Or, I mean, unless somebody's doing something unquestionable, that's a different story. But if your friends are generally your friends, you can hang out with your friends, then be mature about it. Because, like you said, Ma, at the end of the day, it don't matter what you do. You can text them every 5 minutes. You can be at their job. You can be out outside the job in the bushes. If they gonna cheat, they gonna do it.
They're gonna do it. That's what they. And see, the thing is that if that's who they are,
Right.
that's who they are. That's what they're gonna do, and there's nothing that you can do about it. It's not about you wasn't this and you didn't do that, and you didn't cook on Tuesdays, and you ain't rub their feet or their back. It don't have nothing to do with none of that. If that's what they're going to do, see what people do is people, and this is why I came on last Sunday and I talked about the different conversations. We can ready to wrap up. I talked about the different conversations that you have when you're vetting at different levels. The military has a thing called a need to know basis. And certain people that if you're not on certain levels, that it's certain information you're just not gonna get.
You getting left out. You're getting left
And
out.
you have to have the higher you go up in the information chain, you got to get a security clearance. If you get high up into the ranks, you got to get cleared. You have to be cleared. And so, we are all willy-nilly giving out our information and then upset because people will weaponize your words against you and use it as an excuse to justify their bad behavior. Oh, well, I went out and cheated because we used to sleep together, 5 times a week.
You're not holding yourself accountable. Ain't nobody got time for that. You went out and did that because you wanted to do that. Don't give
Because
no
you
excuses. You
wanted to.
come out there and
That's
mess with that
it.
mess.
That's the bottom line. But they will weaponize your words against you, or they will use your actions against you and say, well, I did this because you didn't do that. That ain't had nothing to do with me.
That's immaturity at its finest. There is no tit for tat.
You did
You
that because you wanted to.
you
Oh,
cheat, I
well,
leave.
well,
That's it. Go be with them.
you said it's like I watch Love and Marriage Huntsville. Martell said his wife told him to go get a girlfriend. Did you really think she wanted him to go get a girlfriend? Well, guess what he did?
No,
He went
you
and
ain't
got
got.
a girlfriend. And guess what he used? He used the words that she said against her. He weaponized her words against her as an excuse for his bad behavior. He said, well, you told me to go get a girlfriend, so I went and got a girlfriend.
Anybody got time for that?
But people do that. They do it all the time. Go ahead, close this out, Dante.
That's really it. Like, understand the different attachment styles, and of course they're all fluid. So do your research on them and recognize who you are, but more so study the secure part so you know how to be in an actual secure relationship. And don't be accusatory. Don't be like, oh, you're an avoidant, you're this or you're that, because that deters people from actually wanting to get to know certain things. Hey, we're in this relationship. I just know some things that we need to work on. Here's some things I'm going to start implementing. If you need to take lead, take lead. Like, that's also a thing. Um, but don't be accusatory. Don't be like, oh, well, you ain't doing this, this, this. It's like, no, take lead. I want this. I want this relationship. So here's some things I'm going to implement, and that is it.
All right, you guys, like, share. We will be back next Sunday. Like and share and subscribe. And, go through these, pray about it, see, does it apply to you? What things do you need to implement, take out, change, tweak? Because it's all about getting better. It's all about being whole. It's all about going through the healing process and coming to a place of wholeness and a place of contentment. We will see you guys next Sunday.